Have you ever stopped to think that the window beside you, the glass on your phone, or even the bottle on your desk all began as something as ordinary as sand? It sounds impossible, almost magical. But hidden inside those tiny grains lies the blueprint of one of humanity's most remarkable materials. For more than 2,000 years, glass has been shaping our lives. The earliest discovery wasn't the result of careful planning or advanced engineering, but pure accident. Around 300 BC, along the banks of the Nile, ancient Egyptians piled silica sand and soda ash near open fires. As the flames roared, they unknowingly triggered a transformation. When the embers cooled, what remained was a hardened, transparent solid unlike anything the world had ever seen. For the first time, people could hold sunlight in their hands. What makes this story even more astonishing is the paradox within glass itself. It is at once fragile and enduring. It can shatter in an instant, yet it withstands heat hotter than a kitchen oven, resists corrosion that eats through metal, and even insulates against electricity. And unlike many other materials, glass can be recycled infinitely without losing its quality. Each cycle gives it a new life, a second chance, as if this humble creation refuses to die. Today, we may take it for granted, but imagine a world without it. No skyscraper windows reflecting the sky. No microscopes peering into hidden worlds. No screens connecting us across continents. All of it starts from the same place, a handful of nearly invisible grains. So pure they must reach 99% silica content before industry will even consider them. From ancient fires to modern mega factories, the journey of glass proves a stunning truth. Sometimes the most extraordinary materials begin in the most ordinary places. Not all sand is created equal. The glittering grains you see on a beach or desert dune are far too contaminated to ever become glass for this material. Only the purest of the pure will do sand that reaches an astonishing 99% silica content. But where do we find such rare perfection, and how do we harvest it? The answer lies deep inside the earth. Unlike soft shorelines, high-grade silica is locked within layers of ancient rock. To free it, entire landscapes are reshaped. At massive open pit mines, a countdown begins. Explosives rumble beneath the surface, sending shockwaves through stone that has been undisturbed for millions of years. In seconds, the earth fractures, releasing dense veins of silica. The scene is part science, part spectacle, violent, yet precise. Moments later, colossal excavators move in, their steel arms clawing at the broken ground. Each bucket lifts tons of rock, depositing them into trucks so large they dwarf the workers standing nearby. These trucks thunder down dusty roads toward the first stage of transformation here. Raw rock is crushed by industrial mills machines so relentlessly they grind boulders into grains finer than sugar. But crushing alone is not enough. Precision sieves separate oversized fragments, while powerful washing systems cleanse the sand with high-pressure jets of water. Metallic traces and unwanted impurities are spun out in spiral separators, leaving behind a material that glimmers with a sterile purity. By the end of this journey, the sand is no longer just earth beneath our feet. It has become a carefully engineered raw material, packed into 1-ton bags and shipped to factories hungry for its potential. It's humbling to realize that before glass can rise as skyscrapers or shine as bottles on a shelf, its story begins with explosions in the earth and rivers of dust transformed into something almost sacred. What happens when sand meets fire hot enough to outshine a volcano inside the glass factory? This is where the ordinary crosses the threshold into the extraordinary. Once the purified silica sand arrives, it doesn't enter the furnace alone. It's blended with sodium carbonate, which lowers its melting point, and calcium carbonate, which strengthens the final structure. Sometimes pigments like cobalt oxide are added, giving birth to the deep blues or greens we recognize in bottles and stained glass. Conveyors stretch like endless arteries, carrying hundreds of tons of this carefully measured recipe into the heart of the factory. At the end of this journey waits in the furnace a cavern of flame running hotter than molten lava, reaching nearly 1,650 degrees Celsius. Step to close, and the air itself seems to ignite. Workers here wear fireproof suits and Kevlar gloves because even a few seconds of exposure could be fatal. The furnace roars day and night, a machine that never sleeps, consuming raw material and exhaling streams of molten glass. For 24 hours, the mixture endures this inferno, grain by grain. The sand surrenders its identity, losing the crystalline order that once defined it. What emerges is no longer earth, but a glowing river of liquid glass, thick, radiant, alive with energy. It flows like honey made of fire, shifting between solid and liquid in a state few substances ever achieve. Technicians monitor every degree, every fluctuation, ensuring the molten mass reaches the perfect viscosity. Too thin, and it collapses, too thick, and it refuses to take shape. Precision here is absolute because the next step's shaping, blowing, cutting depend on a material balanced between chaos and control. It's a breathtaking truth before glass becomes clear and solid in our hands. It must first endure a trial by fire more extreme than almost anything found in nature. How does a river of molten fire transform into something as ordinary and yet as vital as a glass bottle? The answer lies in one of the most elegant dances between heat, air, and precision engineering ever devised. It begins with a glowing stream of liquid glass, flowing continuously from the furnace at more than 1,100 degrees Celsius. From this stream, molten drops are cut with exact rhythm, each one known as a gob. These gobs, still blazing red, fall like droplets of lava into the first mold. This is the blank canvas, the starting form. Inside, compressed air is forced into the gob, inflating it like a bubble. The glass stretches outward, clinging to the mold's contours, and takes on its first recognizable shape, the parison. Still fragile, still glowing, this hollow form is carefully transferred to the final mold just inches away. Here, the transformation accelerates. A second burst of air expands the parison until every detail of the mold is captured, the neck, the body, the base, in a fraction of a second. A perfect bottle is born. What seems effortless is, in truth, a symphony of timing. Every valve, every jet of air, every shift of the mold is synchronized down to 1,000th of a second. In a single day, this precision allows hundreds of thousands of bottles to roll off the line, each one nearly indistinguishable from the next. It's industrial art on a scale that borders on the miraculous. And yet, in this moment of creation, the bottle is far from finished. It still glows with the memory of fire, fragile and volatile, waiting for the next chapter in its journey. It's astonishing to realize that the bottle you casually hold in your hand once began as a fiery drop, shaped by nothing more than heat, air, and the relentless pursuit of precision. What keeps a newborn glass bottle from shattering the instant it leaves the mold? The answer lies in a journey through controlled fire and ice. A passage as delicate as it is essential, fresh from the molds, each bottle glows a fierce red, radiating the heat of its volcanic birth. At this stage, it is deceptively fragile, too hot to touch, too unstable to endure the slightest shock. To survive, it must undergo a process called annealing. Slowly, conveyor belts guide the bottles into a long, glowing tunnel known as the leer. Inside, the temperature doesn't plummet but instead falls in carefully measured stages. Step by step, minute by minute, the glass is coaxed from over 500 degrees Celsius down to room temperature. Rush this process and stress fractures will form. Handle it with patience and the bottle becomes strong enough to endure the pressures of everyday life, but survival alone is not enough. Every bottle must also prove its perfection. As they emerge from the leer, a fleet of robotic arms and conveyor systems usher them into the inspection line. Here, high-speed cameras and optical sensors scan each surface in real time. A microscopic bubble, a faint scratch, even a barely visible crack, any flaw is instantly flagged and removed. Special attention is given to the mouth of the bottle, where precision is non-negotiable. Mechanical probes and laser systems check the rim, ensuring it can hold a cap or seal without failure. Thousands of bottles race through these tests every hour, yet nothing escapes the scrutiny of the machines. By the time a bottle passes inspection, it is no longer a fragile creation of fire. It is a flawless vessel, ready to be trusted with food, medicine, or drink. And to think this entire transformation depends on a tunnel of heat, a corridor where fragility is reforged into strength. What if broken glass never truly dies? In the world of flat glass production, every fragment, every shard holds the potential for rebirth. Here, waste becomes a resource, and discarded pieces shimmer with the promise of a second life. At massive recycling yards, mountains of shattered glass glisten under the sun, sparkling like man-made glaciers. This isn't trash. It's raw material. Conveyor belts carry the fragments toward their next transformation, blending them with pure silica sand, sodium carbonate, and stabilizing agents. Adding recycled glass doesn't just reduce waste. It lowers the melting temperature, cutting energy consumption dramatically. Efficiency meets sustainability in a process where nothing is lost. Once mixed, the batch enters a furnace that burns continuously, 24 hours a day, reaching nearly 1,600 degrees Celsius. Over time, the solid mixture collapses into a glowing, unified stream of molten glass, but unlike bottles, this liquid won't be blown or molded. Instead, it takes its shape through one of the most precise techniques in modern industry, the float method. The molten stream is gently poured onto a bath of molten tin. Because glass is less dense, it floats effortlessly across the surface, spreading into a flawless sheet. Gravity and chemistry combine to level the glass naturally, creating parallel surfaces as smooth as still water. Slowly, the sheet drifts forward, passing through zones of carefully tuned heat. Each stage cools it a little more, locking in its shape without warping or stress. By the time the sheet emerges, it is strong, clear, and endlessly versatile, ready to become windows for skyscrapers. Every ending is only the beginning of another transformation. How does molten glass become the flawless sheets that frame our skylines and protect the cars we drive? The answer lies in a final act of precision where fire gives way to steel and every detail is carved into perfection. As the endless ribbon of cooled glass leaves the float bath, it still carries a faint warmth like embers fading after a storm. Now begins the stage of shaping. Robotic arms, programmed with surgical accuracy, glide into motion. Diamond-tipped blades and laser cutters score the surface with lines so fine they are almost invisible. Then, with a controlled snap, the sheet separates into panels of exact dimensions with clean edges without chips, cracks, or wasted fragments. This choreography happens at lightning speed, hundreds of cuts per minute, yet each one executed as if by a master craftsman. But cutting alone cannot prepare the glass for the world. Its edges, raw and sharp, pose both aesthetic flaws and hidden dangers. To resolve this, the panels enter edge polishing machines. High-speed abrasive wheels grind and refine each side, rounding corners and smoothing surfaces until the panels gleam with clarity and safety. The difference is striking. What was once jagged now feels finished, disciplined, almost elegant. From here, select samples are pulled for brutal testing. Hammers strike, weights drop, and stress builds until the glass finally yields. If it cracks into a spiderweb pattern without splintering into deadly shards, it passes the safety threshold. These trials ensure that what frames a building or shields a driver will not betray them in a moment of pressure. At last, robotic arms lift the perfected panels, stacking them carefully with protective layers in between. Waiting on racks, they stand like giant mirrors, silent but powerful, ready to travel across the world. It's humbling to realize. The windows we look through each day were once rivers of fire, now cut, polished, and reborn into silent guardians of modern life. From grains of sand hidden deep within the earth to molten rivers of fire. From the precise shaping of bottles to the recycling of broken fragments into flawless flat panels, this is the astonishing journey of glass. It is a story of science, industry, and human ingenuity, revealing how one of the most fragile materials we know becomes one of the most essential building blocks of modern life. Every step, from mining to cooling, from cutting to polishing, shows us that even the most ordinary elements can be transformed into something extraordinary. If this behind-the-scenes look sparked your curiosity, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the processes that shape our world. Together, we'll keep exploring the hidden stories behind everyday objects. Now let me ask you, what other ordinary material would you like to see transformed before your eyes?